Now that's not any kind of therapy. That's a brainwashing experiment.
For 4 years, the CIA fully funds Cameron's work, hoping to use his techniques to create a Manchurian candidate. Psychiatrists throughout the nation, at hospitals, prisons, and some of the top universities, are similarly on the agency's payroll. Every possible brainwashing technique is explored. One in particular consumed the agency for years: hypnosis.
One of the things the CIA was looking for was, could you give a person an order under hypnosis to assassinate someone else? That would have been a Manchurian candidate.
But the assassin must not remember his act.
You could take an ordinary person off the street, put him through basic training, get him to go out in the field and shoot the enemy. The purpose of the hypnosis is not to get the person to go pull the trigger. It's so that they don't remember, so that if they're captured and interrogated, they can't talk about it.
The evidence suggests there's only one man the agency seriously considers for a Manchurian assassination: Fidel Castro. In the early 60s, several potential assassins are selected for programming, but all hypnosis attempts fail, and the plot is quickly abandoned. Then in 1968, an assassination does take place that seems to resemble a Manchurian operation. According to some, the work of a programmed assassin hypnotized by the CIA.
My thanks to all of you, and now it's on to Chicago, and let's win there.
June 4th, 1968, election night in the California Democratic primary. It's midnight, and Senator Robert Kennedy delivers his victory speech in the Ambassador Hotel. He's ushered out through the crowded pantry. Suddenly, shots are fired. "26 hours later, Kennedy is pronounced dead. As the gunman, 24-year-old Sirhan Bishara Sirhan, is led away, several witnesses notice his trance-like demeanor.
He seemed to be in a daze. He didn't recollect any of the details of what he had just performed, and he couldn't explain it. He was told what he had done, and he was bewildered.
Sirhan's apparent memory loss is seized on by conspiracy theorists. They are convinced Sirhan's a Manchurian candidate, hypnotized by the CIA to assassinate Kennedy, the culmination of 2 decades of mind control research. But why would the CIA want Robert Kennedy dead? Sirhan's attorney believes there are 3 motives. Number 1, Vietnam.
Bob Kennedy was diametrically opposed to the war in Vietnam. The ending of the war in Vietnam would have gone adversely to the bottom lines of some of the major corporate entities in the United States who were making fortunes on that war.
Reason number 2, Cuba.
Bob Kennedy himself had come to the conclusion that the time was ripe for a deal to be done with Castro in Cuba, and that was not making him very popular.
And finally, his own brother's death.
He was going to reopen the investigation of the assassination of his brother. That was making a lot of people edgy.
Conspiracy theorists believe that Sirhan was hypno-programmed by the CIA. Before Sirhan's trial, psychiatrist Bernard Diamond examines him many times.
That girl, I followed her. She led me to a dark place.
And Diamond was convinced that he was programmed, and this programming was very intensive and very, very deep into his psyche, and it has remained with him to this day. To this day, he doesn't know what happened.
Programmed amnesia is the key ingredient to a Manchurian operation. Sirhan also claims he's been hypnotized before. He'd recently been studying the Rosicrucians, an ancient mystical order devoted to self-improvement. Hypnosis is one of the tools they teach for focusing the mind inward.
Sirhan described some self-hypnosis meditation type exercises, and his journals have a lot of repetition, RFK must die, RFK must die, which looks to me like trance state repetition, focusing on the mission, focusing on the mission, focusing on the mission.
In the Manchurian Candidate movie, the assassin's mission is triggered by the Queen of Diamonds playing card.
But it could be anything. The CIA documents describe hand signals, tones over the phone, words. So you hypnotize somebody and you can program in any trigger whatsoever to flip them into their Manchurian Candidate state.
Numerous witnesses report seeing a woman in a polka dot dress talking to Sirhan in the pantry moments before the shooting.
She had a dress with polka dots on it.
How about this girl's hair? What color was it?
Brown.
This mysterious woman is believed by conspiracy theorists to be Sirhan's Queen of Diamonds, giving him his cue to fire. The hypnotized Sirhan allegedly pulls out his gun on cue, but does not fire the fatal shot.
You have to understand, so much pandemonium. It's almost as though Sirhan was programmed to distract the entire group that was there, allowing someone to do what had to be done in terms of actually killing Kennedy by shooting him in the back of the head.
Ballistics evidence seems to support this claim. Kennedy is struck by 3 bullets, all fired from the rear. The fatal shot is fired within inches of his skull, but Sirhan never gets that close.
There's no account that pushes him any closer than 3 or 4 feet away from Bob Kennedy in the front of him.
Adding to the alleged evidence for a conspiracy is the number of bullets fired. Kennedy is struck 3 times. 5 bystanders are also hit, but several more bullet holes are identified in the doors and ceiling, suggesting at least 10 are fired. Sirhan's pistol, a .22 caliber, only holds 8 rounds. More than 8 bullets would require a second gun. Historian Mel Ayton has spent years investigating the assassination. He believes that Sirhan could have shot Kennedy at close proximity from behind, even while standing 3 feet in front of the senator.
When Kennedy was moving through with the crowd through the pantry, he turned to his left to shake hands with the kitchen workers.
Kennedy reaches across with his right arm, presenting Sirhan with the right side of his body as a target.
And then Robert Kennedy was shot under the armpit because obviously his right arm was being raised as a defensive reaction. And then the arc of the gun was pursuing Kennedy's head as Kennedy was going down.
To determine the number of bullets fired, Ayton sends acoustics expert Steve Barber a copy of the only complete audio recording to exist of the assassination.
All of a sudden I hear pop, pop, pop. And then a blood-curdling, high-pitched female scream just after the shots.
2 unidentified thumps occur just 3 seconds before the first pop.
I rule thump number 1 completely out. It sounds like the micro